What can the scrappy rise of Nike teach you about running a law firm? More than you think. Welcome to The Lawyer Millionaire, helping law firm owners grow their businesses and their wealth. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz. This quarter in our Lawyer Millionaire book club, we're reading Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the raw, behind-the-scenes story of how Nike was built from a $50 loan into a global empire. And today we'll unpack 3 powerful takeaways that you can use right now to build a stronger, more profitable practice. Let me take you back to 1962. A shy, awkward kid named Phil Knight, fresh out of business school, is standing in a small office in Japan. He's halfway around the world from his home in Oregon, chasing what he calls a crazy idea. He wants to import Japanese running shoes and sell them in the US, a market dominated by Adidas and Puma. No connections, no company, just a dream and a backpack. And somehow they say yes. That moment, equal parts luck, bluff, and belief, and really mostly bluff, sets off a journey that would eventually create Nike, one of the most iconic brands on earth. But what happens in between? That's where the story gets gritty. Back in the States, Phil founds Blue Ribbon Sports, literally seconds after getting this deal with this Japanese shoe company. He didn't even have a company. So he creates one, and he calls it Blue Ribbon Sports. Creates this company with his old track coach, Bill Bowerman, a legendary tinkerer who once poured rubber into a waffle iron to prototype a new running shoe. Yep, that's right. Nike's innovation was literally born in a kitchen. Phil doesn't have an office. He doesn't have a warehouse. He sells shoes out of the trunk of his beat-up Plymouth Valiant at high school track meets. By day, he works as an accountant to pay the bills. By night, he ships orders and balances inventory. Growth is fast, but not smooth. He's always out of money. Banks don't get it. Vendors don't trust him. And his only supplier, Onitsuka Tiger, starts cutting secret deals behind his back to replace him. Every time he takes a step forward, another obstacle knocks him sideways. But here's the thing. He doesn't quit. When Onitsuka finally does betray him, he decides to stop selling someone else's shoes and starts his own brand. He names it Nike, after the Greek goddess of victory, something he learned about on his round-the-world trip after business school. The logo, a college student designs it for $35. The team, a ragtag bunch of ex-runners, oddballs, and rebels. Phil doesn't hire based on resumes. He hires people who believe in the mission, people willing to bleed for the vision. Together, they fight, they fumble, they battle lawsuits, custom seizures, and sleepless nights, but they also win. In 1980, 2 decades after he first uttered the words crazy idea, Nike goes public. Phil Knight becomes an instant billionaire. The swoosh becomes a symbol, and what started in the trunk of a car becomes a global empire. But here's the real power of Shoe Dog. It's not told like a victory parade. It's told like a war story, because building something that matters isn't glamorous. It's not clean. It's messy. It's painful. And it tests every part of who you are. It's never just business, Knight writes. It will never be just business. And if you're a law firm owner trying to grow something real and something lasting, you know exactly what that means, my friend. So why does this book matter to you, to law firm owners? Well, Knight's struggle really closely mirrors the entrepreneurial journey. The ups and downs, the headaches and heartaches, intermingled with life, because you get to hear, just Phil's life story as well. It is just a raw version of what every entrepreneur goes through. And it's such a great reminder that every big success starts small and messy. So I want to give you 3 powerful lessons from this book that I think you can take with you. Like I said, we're reading this book in our book club currently, which you can join, by the way, for free, lawyermillionaire.com. It's at community.lawyermillionaire.com, but you can go to our main website and click the button at the top of the page. It's free to join. We have nearly 100 members. And by the way, our next book club discussion is coming up on Friday, June 20th at 3 p.m. Eastern. So you still have time to get in and join our discussion and meet our other members. You'll have a great time, I promise you. Okay, but let's dive into our 3 lessons today. Lesson number 1, and everyone's lessons are different, but these are the 3 that I really felt were the most powerful, and I hope they're powerful for you as well. First, start before you're ready. Phil's story is a great example of this. He didn't wait for the perfect conditions, obviously. He was fresh out of business school. Heck, he didn't even have a company. He launched Blue Ribbon Sports with no brand, no office, and only a vague plan. And like I said, he was literally selling shoes from the back of his car while working full time as an accountant to pay the bills. Does that sound familiar? How many of you, have you ever had to pay your people before you paid yourself? So many founders forego their own salary and their own financial health because they're busy trying to take care of their team, trying to take care of their business, just keep things afloat. And so maybe you've been there. I know I've been there. When I first started my business, I definitely was not paying myself a reasonable salary, right? So many law firm owners struggle with this idea, though. Let's talk about starting before you're ready, right? Hesitation can get in the way of so many things. When you started your law firm, right, you didn't hesitate. You were not ready, probably. You learned that. You figured that out. I started my business. I know for sure. I sure as heck was not ready, right? I had the mistaken idea that I could get my business up and running in 3 months actually a month and a half, because that's how long my teacher's salary was going to last through the summer. Well, it took a lot longer than that, let me tell you. So many lawyers, though, law firm owners hesitate when it comes to deciding to niche in a particular area, deciding to hire, or deciding to launch their firm in the beginning because they're not ready. Let me tell you something, friend. Readiness is a myth. Progress happens when you start with what you've got and learn as you go. No one is truly ready, ever. No one is ever truly ready for anything. You've got to just execute. It's more important, I've heard it said, it's more important that you decide than what you decide. And I think that's so powerful, especially for leaders. We often get so stuck trying to make decisions. There's something that you should be doing in your business, but you've been hesitating. You've been waiting, or you've been putting it on the back burner because you've got other things to get to. And that one thing that you need to do, it's really not going to take that long once you get into it. But you're just hesitating. What is it? Think of it right now. There's something there. There's something there that you've been putting off. Starting your firm with limited resources is completely normal and completely natural. Everyone does it. No business owner is truly ready, unless you can get funding, right, from public markets or something. Another aspect of starting before you're ready is this idea of imposter syndrome. Have you ever felt imposter syndrome? I know I have. Imposter syndrome is when you're doing something, you're practicing a profession, or you're performing a task, right? You've become an identity, you become a lawyer or a financial planner for that matter, and you question whether or not you're in the right spot. Have you ever struggled with imposter syndrome? Because maybe you feel like, who am I? I don't really know what I'm doing in this role. Well, guess what? We all struggle with imposter syndrome. Every firm owner feels imposter syndrome at first, because guess what? Everybody had to start somewhere. Everybody had to begin. Every brilliant surgeon performed their first surgery. Every brilliant law firm court litigator had their first court case that they had to argue. Everyone had to start somewhere. And you know what? We are all always learning. I don't care how long you've been doing something. No one is ever truly an expert at anything. In fact, I feel like the older I get, the more I realize I have yet to learn. You ever feel that way? You ever feel like, I feel like imposter syndrome gets worse over time. In the beginning, you're young and cocky and you feel like you know everything and no one can tell you shit. That's how I felt, right? But then you get out in the real world and you realize, oh crap, I really don't know as much as I think I know. That's normal. That's perfectly natural. Focus on action. Focus on the steps that you can take. You can't steer a parked car. Take the next step. It might not be the perfect step. It's never going to be perfect. Get yourself out of analysis paralysis and take the next step. I want you to write down one thing that you've been waiting to be ready for and commit to starting it this week. We see this a lot with financial planning and business coaching, right? People waiting because they're not ready. I'll be ready in a couple of months. I just need that next new client. I just have to get through this new hire. You know what I tell people? The people who feel like they don't have the time or they're not ready, those are the ones who need our help the most. But more importantly, for most people, the perfect time doesn't come until you're 65. And by then, it's too late. Because there will always be another fire to put out. There will always be another crisis. There will always be another thing, right? And if you keep waiting until X happens or until Y, same thing with saving and building your wealth. If you keep waiting until your income gets to X level before you really get serious about building your wealth, it'll never happen because the wealth doesn't follow. Let me make sure I say this. The actions don't follow the money. The money follows the actions. All right. So the behavior, your behavior is not going to change simply because you get to a new revenue level. Your behavior's got to change first. All right. You probably, let's say you're not making enough money to set aside money to save and invest. But you think when I get to this level, I will be ready. You won't. Start now. Start now even before you're ready. You've got to. Otherwise, you will never get to the place where you will be truly ready. Okay, that's lesson number 1. Start before you're ready. Lesson number 2, cash is king. And more specifically, cash flow is king. And you already know this. But Phil's book, Shoe Dog, is just a great example of why cash flow is king. If you read the book, you'll find that Nike nearly went under, bankrupt, out of business multiple times due to cash flow problems. Even when sales were booming, the company had to beg for credit extensions just to survive. And that actually is why they went public, because they kept getting in these cash flow crunches, right? Phil would place these orders for shoes with Onitsuka, and then he would come to the bank and say, oh, oops, I need more money to fulfill this order. And he'd be like, well, if you don't extend me credit, I'm not going to be able to pay you for the credit you've already extended me. So it's going to be your problem. And he keeps doing this over and over and over, right? And the orders keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But every time it's such a huge risk, because what if the bank says no? And finally, the bank does say no. And Phil tells in his book about what happens next. So just like Phil Knight, law firm owners often equate growth with success. Let's talk about that. So many times I see business owners, not just law firm owners, but many business owners, I don't know if it's more in one area or another, but who boast on their revenue, right? I have a 7-figure firm. I have an 8-figure firm. I have a 9-figure firm. Big whoop-de-freaking-do. It doesn't matter crap, because what matters at the end of the day is your profitability and your cash flow. I don't care how much money your law firm's bringing in. Well, the only thing that matters is how much money you're keeping. Because let me tell you something. I have seen 7-figure law firms that are more profitable than 9-figure law firms. And I'd rather have that 7-figure law firm that's more profitable every day of the week. Okay? So the way we see it in our business, we've created what we call the 3 phases of law firm growth, of law firm maturity, right? Phase number 1 is business growth. It's revenue growth. You've got to grow the revenue. If you're under $1 million in revenue, you should be just focused on revenue growth, revenue generation. That should be number 1. once you get to $1 million in revenue, it's, or it could be a different point for you depending on your type of law practice and different things. But at a certain point, you've got to change. When you're in the struggle phase, you're in phase one, in the business growth phase, you are heavily investing as much as you can in growth. You're investing in SEO and advertising and marketing, and you're just pouring money on marketing. And that's great. But at a certain point, it comes time to focus on the profit. It comes time. You can't stay in phase one your whole life. You'll never, believe it or not, I see people, I see business owners, I see law firm owners that stay stuck in phase one forever. If you stay stuck in phase one forever, you will never grow real wealth. You've got to get out of phase one. You've got to shift your mindset into maximizing profitability. That's phase two. And what's phase three, you may ask? Phase three is where we're building real wealth outside the law practice. Wealth growth is phase three. So you got to get to phase two. Profitability and cash flow are the true lifelines of your business. And there are so many things that can eat into your profitability without you even knowing it. Billing issues would be number one, right? People not paying, or not collecting on outstanding bills. Let's talk about that. Overhead creep, right? Things just getting more and more expensive. Software. How many pieces of software have you signed up for that you're not using? Lack of reserves. Does your business have a business emergency fund? You should. You should have one. You should have a personal emergency fund and a business emergency fund. Recognize that revenue is vanity and cash is sanity. You've got to get the cash flow down. Your firm should always know its burn rate and its runway. Burn rate, how fast are we burning through the cash that we have? And runway, how long is the cash in the bank going to last without an infusion of new cash? You should always know those numbers. You should know, if we don't get any new clients, how long is the cash in the bank going to last? Build a habit of reviewing your cash flow weekly or monthly. And you really need to have a good accountant and a good bookkeeper. Those are really important key players on your financial team. You need those people. And you need good ones. You need a bookkeeper that's going to give you good numbers on a regular basis, going to get you those numbers early. You know how many times I ask a law firm owner what's their profit year to date, and they have no idea? So often, right? Or what was your profit last quarter? I don't know. Even revenue, right? You should know those numbers like the back of your hand. You should know. And you should know if it's growing. This should be a KPI. Profitability should be a KPI that you're tracking. All right. And we really encourage people to use systems to help manage their cash flow, like the Profit First system. Profit First, if you're not familiar, is a framework for managing your cash flow so that you're prioritizing profit and setting aside money for the most important things: owner's compensation, taxes, and finally, operating expenses, right? But you prioritize the profit first and the taxes next, because those need to happen. You're setting aside money so that you always have money in that profit account. You're making sure that profit happens, and you're making sure that your taxes are going to be paid. We help law firm owners develop these cash flow systems. Yours might look exactly like the cash flow like the Profit First system, or it might be different. But we help law firm owners with all three of these phases: business growth, profit maximization, wealth growth, right? What phase are you in? Let's get you out of that phase into the next phase. Let's master that phase so we can graduate you to the next phase. And this is really one of the most pertinent areas that law firm owners come to us and talk about and need help with. My cash flow is irregular. It's up and down, right? It's lumpy, and that could be for a variety of reasons. You have different seasons. You have clients coming in at different times, and so the cash flow is up and down, right? And so it's difficult to plan. It's difficult to know how much should I be setting aside for certain things. The worst are personal injury firms, right? Because especially long-term injury cases where you're, like environmental cases that take, 10 plus years to litigate, and you may not see any income for, that's a whole nother story, right? But every law firm struggles with cash flow irregularity. And what you've got to do is you've got to instill regularity. You've got to create regularity for yourself. One of the first, most primary ways that you create regularity for yourself is by paying yourself a real wage. You're the owner. Pay yourself. Don't just take money out of the firm whenever there's money available, right? Or whenever you have a big bill to pay or you're running low in your own personal bank accounts. Pay yourself a regular market wage. That can be all wages. It could be part wages, part distribution. You should plan your draws. You should have regular automatic draws so that you're creating regularity for yourself in your business and in your personal life. Okay, that's lesson number 2. Let's not be like Phil Knight and our business almost imploding all the time, right? Let's set up systems that are resilient so that we maintain our cash flow and our businesses. We reduce that risk. That's a huge risk, right? Okay. And lesson number 3, building a loyal team culture. Who do you hire? Who should you hire? Who's going to be the hire for you? Who are the A players, right? I want A players. Well, who are those A players, right? Are they the Harvard grads who have the best resumes? Well, let me tell you Phil Knight's philosophy. Knight didn't hire MBAs. He hired loyal weirdos, we'll call them. People who believed in the mission and fought for the company. They were runners. He hired runners. He didn't hire business people. He hired athletes. He hired runners, people who loved running. Notice that. He hired people who loved running. When Phil Knight was starting this business, running wasn't a real thing in the 1960s and 1970s. If somebody saw you running down the side of the road, they were likely to ask, "What are you running from? What's happening?" People didn't run for leisure. And so in addition to creating a shoe company, they were also trying to create a movement of running to inspire people to run, right? And that was a whole thing, right? So let's just caveat on that a bit, right? Don't just build a business, build a movement. Don't just build a business, build a movement around your idea. That is how you create $1 billion company. You don't just have a product, you create a social movement. Have a message, have a mission, be driven by something, by a value, by a bigger purpose. And that's what he did. Knight found people who were passionate about the vision, about getting people to run, right? His track coach, Bill Bowerman, wrote a book about running. I think it was called The Joy of Running. I could be wrong about that, right? This was part of their mission. In addition to building this business, they wanted to inspire people to run. They weren't polished, but they were passionate. Your team doesn't need to be perfect. They need to be bought in. Culture is about clarity of mission, shared purpose, and respect. Loyalty can't be bought. You can't teach someone those things. You can't teach people shared purpose. You can inspire it a little bit, but people need to come to your firm believing in what you're doing. So here are some tips for you. Hire for fit and values, not just resume. It doesn't matter where someone went to law school. Doesn't matter. Unless you are working with, Fortune 500, I don't know, maybe, but it doesn't matter. What's going to matter more are your results and what you actually do and your fit with the team culture. Because let me tell you something, if you hire someone who's not a good fit for your company, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you big time because it's going to hurt the morale. Other people may leave who are really good people. Hire for fit and values. I think resumes are a joke. I think interviews are a joke because how good someone interviews doesn't translate to how great of an employee they are. It doesn't. You can become a great interviewer. That's a different skill. That's a different skill set. You can be a great interviewee, right? You can learn how to do that. You can learn to answer questions. You can Memorize all the questions, just like you can be a great test taker and be a horrible lawyer. There, I said it. You can be a fantastic law school student and suck in the courtroom. Okay, that's the truth. Here's another tip for you. Team buy-in creates firm stability and happier clients. You've got, the bigger you go, the more important this is, that shared value system and culture. You've got to really protect that, because clients will feel that. Prospective clients will feel that, right? It's unsaid. It's nonverbal, but they will feel it. They will know it. Empower your team. Give them ownership of the outcomes. Phil says this in the book. I may get this wrong, but it's something like this. Don't tell people how to do something. Tell them what you want done and let them surprise you with their results. I'm going to say that again. Don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what you want. Tell them the outcome you want and be impressed by their results. Believe in people. Give them ownership. Give them ownership of a task. Here's what I want you to do. You go do it. Phil does this a lot, maybe too much. There is something to be said for training and telling, showing people how to do things, right? But don't micromanage. Phil was like the opposite of micromanagement if you read the book. I mean, pretty laissez-faire, if you ask me. And finally, share your vision and mission regularly. Don't assume that the team knows it. Make it a part of your weekly meeting sequence, right? Right at the top, here's our mission and vision. It doesn't have to be weird. You don't have to recite it like the Pledge of Allegiance, but let's make sure that we understand it and we are all on the same page. Culture affects so many things: retention, morale, even client experience. So it's really important to protect it. Well, there you have it, folks. There are our 3 lessons. Number 1, start before you're ready. Cash flow is king. Build a loyal team culture, right? And I just love this book because it resonated so much with my own journey. And this is why I love working with law firm owners, because I know what it's like to struggle and scrape by in the beginning and build a business brick by brick, slowly. I know that struggle. Have you ever felt like Knight? Broke, misunderstood, but pushing forward anyway? If you have, you're not alone. So many law firm owners have been there, and so many business owners have been there. And, it's important to realize that. And it's important to build a tribe, to build a community of other law firm owners you can be around and can feel and understand and commiserate with them, which, by the way, is another great reason that you should join the book club, because you can do that in the book club. Maybe the book club, or the Lawyer Millionaire book club, could be your tribe, right? Your people. If you're grinding every day to build something that matters, you're not alone. Shoe Dog reminds us that building a business is messy, hard, and sometimes heartbreaking. But it's also one of the most rewarding journeys that you'll ever take. Like Phil Knight, you don't need to be ready to start. Remember that cash flow is more important than growth, and your firm's culture is its soul. Treat it that way and protect it. Here at the Lawyer Millionaire, we love working with law firm owners just like you to help you build your crazy idea. From business strategy to personal financial planning, we're here to guide you every step of the way. If you love this episode, guess what? You'll love our book club even more. It's a place where law firm owners can connect, learn, and share in a fun and engaging way. We're a different kind of community because we're spicing it up with books, great books like Shoe Dog, and breaking them down into actionable insights for you and your firm. You can sign up for free at community.lawyermillionaire.com. And if you want help building your own version of Nike, a firm that runs without you, might not ever become a Fortune 500 company. We'll see. But we would love to help you with that too. Schedule a call at lawyermillionaire.com and let's talk. Who is the Lawyer Millionaire? It's you, my friend. Own it and live it. I'm your host, Darren Wirtz. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.